Joining us now is former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee, who ran for president in 2008 and 2016. Gov, it's always good to see you. I just want to follow up on Tom's reporting there. We're on SCOTUS watch for that Colorado ruling here in T-minus 2 hours. What do you think we'll see come down?
It would be a shock if the Supreme Court thought that what Colorado did was acceptable. It's ridiculous. And here's why. First of all, there was no insurrection in January of 2021. It was a riot. It was stupid. There were a lot of horrible things that happened, but an insurrection, even Jack Smith, who is a rabid anti-Trump zealot, didn't charge Donald Trump with insurrection. So he's never been charged with it. He's certainly never been convicted. And the last time I checked, there is a presumption of innocence in this country until you are proven guilty in a court of law by a jury of your peers. Until that time, you're not guilty of something. How can Colorado decide that someone is guilty without even that person being charged, much less convicted? So it is an absurdity. And I'll tell you that the real danger for Democrats is if they do this and they get away with it. Do you honestly think that Republican-led states, and there are more of them right now than there are Democrat-led states, that they won't say, okay, fine, you want to play this game? Let's get in all the rules, all play the same game. And they throw Joe Biden off the ballot for dementia. Now,
Sure.
You say, well, that's not fair. But that's where we're headed with this, and it's ridiculous. The voters should make the decisions, not some black-robed state court justice or a secretary of state.
Yeah, for the Supreme Court that likes to stay out of politics, they're certainly smack dab in the middle of it this year. Let's talk about this year as a whole, Governor. You know, the Supreme Court also agreeing to take up the question of whether or not former President Trump can claim immunity in his election interference case. Nikki Haley reacting to that and also saying this about the timing of Trump's criminal trials. Take a listen.
It would be nice if the voters knew what was going to happen with these cases before the election. I don't think that's going to happen, but I do think the Supreme Court needs to hear this case on immunity. I mean, we can't have a president that's completely immune of anything. We can't have a president that doesn't have to follow the laws.
Yeah, that was her talking to our own Chris Steyerwald on his debut of his Sunday show this weekend. Governor, do you think voters deserve to have these Trump trials put to bed, verdicts read before they head to the polls in November?
Markie, I think what really voters have a right to is an election that is not being smeared by a Justice Department that is operating on behalf of the opponent of Donald Trump. I mean, this is really frightening to me that we would have a situation where the Justice Department of the sitting president becomes a political weapon to his or her opponent. And this is a precedent that I don't think America can afford to go into. The fact is, Americans apparently don't buy into this notion, because if they did, Donald Trump's numbers would be in the toilet. Instead, they're soaring. And every time a new charge comes, his approval numbers go up, because people look at this and say, if they can do it to him, by golly, they'll do it to me.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of Americans just want a justice system, not a just us system.
And you bring up that point, which makes me say, you know, he has touted these cases as being a shot in the arm for his campaign, for his funding. His legal team has pushed back in some of these cases, asking for them to be tried after the election, the classified documents case, for instance. Why push it for after if it is such a shot in the arm? Why not, you know, say, OK, let's take care of it now before November?
It's a scheduling issue, Markie, because if the president is sitting in a courtroom when he needs to be out campaigning, it's a total distraction from his time, his money, and from the overall election. Why don't we just have an election where you put two candidates out there and the people of America get to make the decision? Why should you have the process of a weaponized Justice Department decide that they're going to eliminate one candidate so their guy can win? I think Americans have a fundamental sense of fairness and justice, and this isn't it.
We'll see what happens in 2 hours. Governor Mike Huckabee, it's always good to see you, sir. Thank you. Thanks for watching, everybody. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. Also, don't forget to click that red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.